Hi, it's Ray from IELTS Focus. So in this lesson, I'd like to take a look at a tricky part of the IELTS reading, and that's the true, false, not given questions. A lot of students, they struggle with this part of reading, so let's have a look at a lesson on this. So true, false, not given. Now the IELTS reading test is more like a vocabulary test, because you need to have a very good understanding of synonyms and collocations, and especially paraphrasing. And true, false, not given questions are based on factual statements in the text. So a lot of these kind of texts are from scientific journals or magazines, and it's based on factual information. Whereas the yes, no, not given questions are based on the writer's opinion. It's not based on facts. So it's a different kind of text. But the strategies are more or less the same for yes, no, not given and true, false, not given. So in this lesson, we're going to look at what exactly is true, false, not given, and some tips and strategies, and an example of a true, false, not given question or questions, and some common mistakes, and we'll look at an example text with an analysis. So first of all, what exactly is true, false, not given? Now, true means that the statement agrees with the information in the passage. False means the statement contradicts or is opposite to the information in the passage. And not given means that there's no information in the passage and there is no way to know. So there's a key point, and if the information in the text or in the passage is similar or close in meaning, then it's not true. So this kind of passage only deals with facts. It's not about what might be or maybe or a similarity. It's only based on facts. And it's also important to know what not given means. If it is impossible to find the information in the area of the text or the passage, then it will be not given. So let's look at some tips or strategies for this. So before reading, we've got to look at the title of the passage first, and then briefly scan the passage to get an idea of the topic or the theme. So this shouldn't take you more than a minute, so we don't want to spend too much time on this. We're just getting a feel for the passage. Then we go to the questions and we look at question 1. We read it carefully, underline the key words, and then go back to the passage and skim the area, which would be paragraph 1, to locate where the answer could be. And now, most importantly, you have to read in detail, only in the area that you feel the answer could be. So many students don't actually read in detail. Maybe their teacher tells them that you don't have to read in detail, you just have to skim or scan. But this is the wrong advice. You have to read in detail in that area of the passage to really get a feel for it. And another thing to remember is that the answers come in order in the passage. So the answer to question 1 will be around about the first paragraph. And then the answer to the next question comes after that, and so on. So luckily, the answers are in order. So things like adverbs of frequency, like often, sometimes, occasionally, etc. This can actually change the meaning. So for example, if I say I usually go to the gym on Saturday, that's a very different meaning to I occasionally go to the gym on Saturday. And beware of phrases like all or some or most or the majority of. These can be little traps in the reading test. And look out for questions with names of people or names of places and numbers. This type of answer will be quite easy to find in the passage. And don't just look for matching words. You've got to look for synonyms, collocations, and paraphrasing. So that's why you have to read the area that you feel the answer could be in more detail before you actually answer the question. And then specific verbs such as know, suggest, believe, claim, say. For example, the passage suggests there are 4 endangered species on the island. It's very different to there are 4 endangered species on the island, for example. And a key point, you have to match the meaning, not just the single words. So the text will not have the same words as the question. It is most often, or nearly always, paraphrased, or it could be some kind of synonym. So that brings us on to paraphrasing in IELTS. Paraphrasing is a key part of IELTS, and it shows up in the reading section especially. So that's why you really need to have a good vocabulary before you tackle a reading section. Let's look at some examples. So on the left side, it's what it might say in the question, and then on the right side is what it might say in the text. For example, people moved out of the countryside to cities, but in the text it may say the population decreased in rural areas and grew in urban areas. So that's true, that's kind of the same meaning, it's paraphrased. Or crime is on the increase. Criminal activities are not decreasing, quite the opposite in fact. So that's a very important skill, is to understand how things are paraphrased in English. And let's look at some examples of it, true, false, not given questions. Now you'll notice that these are actually statements, they're not questions. And in fact, if you want to download a free practice test, this comes from the British Council. You can go to that website. So this is from the British Council. This is their free download, which I'm just using as an example. So you can see the statements there. And that's what you'll see in the IELTS exam, something similar to this. Now, there's some common mistakes with true, false, not given questions. One big mistake is that people spend too much time trying to find the answer for a not given question. So you must understand the area of the text that you're looking at. And if there's no information in that area of the text, then it's not given. So, as I said before, the questions come in order. So don't bother looking through the whole passage or the whole text, trying to hunt down the answer to a not given question. If it isn't in the area that you think it should be, then it's not given. Then there's wrong thinking. Some people think that false means that the information doesn't match. But in fact, false means that the information is opposite or it contradicts the information in the passage. And focusing on keywords and then just trying to match them directly. So, as mentioned before, you've got to think about the way words are paraphrased and the way synonyms are used. And then read the area in the text in detail. That's why reading in detail is very important. Now, a thing about reading in detail is you shouldn't read the whole text in detail because you just don't have the time. You're just going to read in detail in the specific area of the text that you think the answer could be. And another common problem or common belief is that people think that they have to be an expert on the topic or they have to understand every single word. And in these kind of texts, there's a lot of technical words and you just won't understand. Even native speakers, they don't understand certain words in these texts. And that's why getting meaning from context comes in handy. This is why you have to develop this skill where you have to be able to understand the meaning from the context. And in many cases, the reading will give you some kind of definition. So you don't have to be an expert. And some people don't fully understand the question or the statement. So you have to really understand the statement, what it's actually asking of you. So let's have a look now at an example text, which I got from the British Council. I'll post the URL under this video so you can download it. It's a free reading test. And in this there was a statement which is chronobiology is the study of how living things have evolved over time. Now, I found the area of the text where I think the answer could be? Now, of course, chronobiology, not even I understand, or not even I know what that means, but it actually gives you a definition. The yellow highlighting here shows you this is what it actually means. It's a field of study that concerns one of the oldest processes life on this planet has ever known, etc. So what do you think? Do you think this is true, false, or not given? Well, it's actually false, because the passage says it concerns one of the oldest processes life on this planet has ever known, and it's not about living things evolving. And also the only mention of time is the short-term rhythms of time and their effect on the flora. So it's actually false. So another question here, or statement. The rise and fall of sea levels affects how sea creatures behave. Again, I found the area of the text where I feel the answer is, and I've read in a little bit of detail here. So by looking at that, what do you think? Do you think it's true or false or not given? Well, it's true, because the passage says marine life is influenced by tidal patterns. And this is a good example of how paraphrasing works. So sea creatures, the same as marine life, affects influenced by sea levels, tidal patterns. Great example of paraphrasing there. So let's have a look at the next question. Most animals are active during the daytime. And here's the area of the text where I think the answer is. So I've had a look at this. I've highlighted some keywords, but I can't find any information about most animals being active during the daytime. So it's not given, because if I look at the passage, it says that animals tend to be active or inactive depending on the position of the sun, and also numerous creatures like to come out during the hours of sunlight. I mean, that sounds kind of similar, but it doesn't answer the question clearly. We've got the phrase nocturnal animals, which are animals that come out at night, and crepuscular, low light of dawn and dusk, but there's no information about most animals being active during the daytime. So it's not given. So hopefully this has been useful, and if it has, have a look at my Facebook page, IELTS Exam Focus, or go to the website, the blog, IELTSfocus.com. There's a lot of free lessons and tips on there for reading and speaking and writing especially. So thanks for your time,